I did the What Would Tintin Do zine, the award-winning What Would Tintin Do zine.
Award-winning?
I'm sure someone will give an award eventually.
Yeah. You could make an award for it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I could. Yeah.
Nice. So tell us about the philosophy of
the philosophy of Tintin. I just did a whole speech on that this morning.
Oh yeah, okay. Should be fresh.
I guess yeah. I kind of found. I think when I was talking in the speech this morning, I was sort of reminiscing back to when I started thinking about Tintin, and there was this moment when I was pretty much just finished my PhD where my girlfriend at that point was about to leave me to go live in Germany, and there was this like night just after I handed the PhD in where I went out and got like just insanely drunk, and then I didn't eat during the day, so I woke up after about 4 hours sleep and just like crawled into the bathroom, started throwing up in the bath, and I was just kind of laying on the floor in the bathroom thinking about where my life was going, and decided I need this like new philosophy of life. And I just started thinking about Tintin. It just sort of happened, and thinking about the lessons that come out of Tintin. Because particularly I was thinking about that I was about to become a bachelor again. The girlfriend's leaving, and there's not a lot of unless you want to be kind of sleazy and creepy. There's not a lot of good bachelor role models. So I wanted like one of those sort of old style bachelor role models where they're like effectively kind of celibate, but they have all these wild adventures. And that's what I was looking for. And I kind of looked at Sherlock Holmes, but that's a bit kind of outdated and a bit kind of homoerotic. And I thought,
with Watson there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad you didn't go with the captain.
Well, the thing about the Tintin and Captain Haddock is they're basically two facets of the same personality. So there's like Tintin was how Hergé wanted to see himself, and Haddock was kind of how he actually was. I guess.
Do you think you felt like Haddock when you were on that floor?
Yeah.
With those exclamation marks.
Yeah, life was completely confusing, overwhelming, baffling, because like Haddock's problem is he engages with absolutely everyone and just gets like completely bogged down to this stupid shit. And I think you kind of look at Haddock, Tintin, and Calculus are all basically the same person. Haddock's engaged in like the immediate, and everything's pressing up against him, and Calculus only sees the big picture. So he ignores everything that's going around him, but he has these like big theories about how the world works. And then Tintin's like this perfect center point right in the middle, kind of like sort of balances them out, like I said, the absolute center.
And what about the detectives? How do you feel about the detectives?
The detectives, it's hard to tell what to make of the detectives. I mean, obviously they're a comic relief, but you kind of look at them, there's obviously something else going on there, like some kind of, I don't know, Freudian uncanny of this sort of like this split people just wandering around. But yeah, I've never.
But they're sort of, you think they're based on a Chaplin or a Keaton, but
there
is almost stooges like. Yeah.
Because there's stuff where it's like Hergé sort of talked about what he based them on, and partly I think he actually based them on his father and his father's twin brother. And there's these pictures of his father and his father's twin brother kind of wandering around. And if I remember, they did kind of dress like that. But there's also obviously the Chaplin thing. They've got the canes, they've got the moustaches, they've got the hats. Yeah.
And they've got the British accent.
They've got the British accent, yeah.
How do you think the zines have enriched your life?
They had a massive impact on my life. I think particularly, like I got into when I was reasonably young, I guess. And I started writing them a lot. I had a really boring office job and started writing zines. Also because at that point when I got really into them, I was at just starting honours, and like if you're doing honours in cultural studies, it's not really like an environment that your voice matters that much. Like there's all these big name academics that all live in other countries. It's very high level expertise, and I kind of got sick of that, particularly because I thought the stuff I was reading was like really personal and really about your personal life, but there was no opportunities to talk about it. And then kind of got into zines because I found a lot of stuff on gender studies and people talking about like the politics of the personal, and that was a really kind of I guess there's that strong sense of being a participatory culture where it's not a gatekeeper medium. You're invited to take part, and you go into this discursive space where your voice matters. And I mean, I think there's still, you still encounter, particularly in Australia, this attitude that zines are like this youth art form. And I kind of look at it and go, I like this medium not because I'm trying to write a novel and this is my way of getting there. I like this because it's a medium where it is very participant driven and there's no gatekeepers, and it's very, it's a good way of engaging with other people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to tell personal stories, and they're very personal objects.
And I think it really, and it sort of reevaluates how you think about your own voice, and I've found reevaluates how you think about other people's voices, and how you deal with other people, because you don't have that sense that like, well, unless you've got a book published, you have to be Les Murray before your voice matters. And that's a really useful belief to have, I guess. I think that's like the DIY. No, the essence of DIY is just sort of recognising you don't have to be kind of the upper echelons of culture before you have a worthwhile opinion. Yeah.
Because we all have opinions.
Yeah, and I think people, I guess, there are a lot of morons in the world, but in general, a lot of people have very valid and good opinions, and if they were, I guess, a bit better at communicating with each other, or didn't live in a culture where they did have that strong sense of gatekeeping and hierarchies, things, I don't know, maybe would be a bit less fraught.
But we don't really value a lot of
Which
people
is,
don't value
yeah,
their own voice.
I think particularly in Australia, where it's like, and this comes from America, and I think that one of the things that pisses me off about it, living in this country, is we have this idea democracy is something you do every 4 years, and I think, like for a functioning sort of democratic culture, it's something you do every day. It's the way you think about the culture you live in. It's not just, well, I voted Greens, therefore I'm good for the environment now. It's sort of, yeah, I'm engaged and political on a day-to-day basis, and not just watching TV and doing a shitty job.
Awesome.
Okay.